Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, please say hello in the chat. If you have any questions, I've had a few questions from our previous lives, and we'll be discussing that today. But if you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat, and we will get started very shortly. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you guys? So good to see you guys online. Some of you guys had some questions that you sent to me personally, and I truly appreciate that. Welcome back from the weekend. Please let me know in the chat where you're from. Let me know what questions you might have. So, I have a small story for you. This was a story of when I was a teenager and I joined martial arts. And I still remember he was one of my most impactful teachers. And in karate, he would always push me. And I was young. So I would cry a little bit. I wouldn't enjoy it very much. So one day we were sitting down and we had a conversation about, me not being happy about him pushing me so hard, and I don't like it, and multiple things. It made me uncomfortable, but more importantly, it was troublesome that he kept repeating that. And the lesson or the information I got from that, and when he looked at me and he said, if you learn the lesson I'm trying to teach you, I will stop pushing you this way. And for a second, it clicked in my head that what he was trying to tell me was something very fundamental, something very basic. And then we got to be really good friends, and I still for a long time kept in touch with him. He is my mentor, my teacher. He is no more. He has passed away since. However, later on in life, I appreciated his gesture and appreciated him pushing me to do more and more uncomfortable things. More importantly, what he taught me was anything that might look tough or complicated on the surface has some very basic, very fundamental values, some very fundamental thoughts and processes behind it. And those stand true no matter whether you're in a good market, a bad market, no matter where you are in terms of your journey in life. And once you understand and master and build those fundamentals really well, they will serve you for the rest of your life. In fact, the Stoics have a very important saying and an old adage that goes, um, build your habits, and your habits will build your life. So we're going to cover some of the basics. I have covered some of this in my older videos. I just wanted to go over some of it because a lot of people messaged me privately, separately, and said, hey, can you dive a little deeper into these fundamentals? I kind of just listed them the last time we spoke. And I have some things for you guys. I want to make sure I add value to you. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be mentioning these fundamentals first. So you have all of them, but as I talk today to you about the fundamentals that we're going to be discussing, instead of giving you information, I'm going to ask you to ask yourself some questions. And in those questions, I will try to give you as much value as possible and hopefully introduce you to some concepts that you may or may not know. Um, but please understand that these fundamentals, once you understand them, once you bring them into practice and you start building on them, you will automatically notice the difference in the way you operate, in the way your finances operate, and more importantly, your journey towards building wealth. So, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure having you. I hope I can add as much value as possible to you today. Please feel free to put in the chat on Instagram or on YouTube. I can actually look at both. I think I can. Oops, sorry. I think I can. Let me just double check. Okay. Yeah, I can actually see both on my screen, whether you are watching from YouTube or from Instagram. And then I will definitely go ahead and try to answer as many questions as possible. So let me just quickly go over, the six financial pillars that make for an easy life. They're harder for some, easier for others, depending on the journey you're on. The way I look at it is the financial journey for each person starts in phases, right? One of the phases I like to call that I was in for a really long time is the toddler phase. It's, where you're making an income, you're building an income. You're making an income, you're paying your bills just enough where, you can live a comfortable life, and you have a very small amount of savings, maybe none. You're close to a hand to mouth situation. That's kind of a helpless situation. Don't want to be in that situation. However, if you're looking at a toddler phase, for example, if you are a toddler, you are, at a point, as I said, where you're making an income, you're slightly comfortable, and then you start walking, and then you get to what I call is the sauntering phase, right? You just saunter through the garden of life. You've got an income, you've got some savings put aside, some emergency fund, and you're just walking through life. Things are good, and you think, you know what, things are going to be this way, and everything's going to be great. And then you realize that the person next to you isn't just a toddler walking, they're sprinting, they're running. Those are the people that have a healthy income, have some savings, they're investing, they're putting their money where it can, provide them some value, provide them some leverage. And you realize, you know what, maybe you should start jogging and then running. And then there are some people who I like to call jumbo jets, where they've already passed the running and the walking phase. They've already gotten on a plane and the plane's taken off, right? Usually when I call someone a jumbo jet, it's because they understand what building generational wealth means. They've taken off. They're no more on the ground. They've done the running. They've the blood, sweat, and tears has gone into it, and they've sat on the plane and the plane's taken off. Those are usually legacy situations, and believe it or not, I am grateful and thankful to our previous generations that have set that up for some of the people that I know. So I think it's a brilliant thing. to understand what phase you're on, because that if you don't know where to start, you will not know where you're headed, right? So in this financial journey, please understand what I'm providing to you is just suggestions and guideposts. You have to know where you are on your journey to take action and then to build on where you want to head. I can help you in almost every phase. And I say almost because if you've already taken off, you already know some things. And even then, there's some value that I can provide you. However, I just want to make sure that you understand this is not something that I'm going to tell you to do as a prescription that is blanketed for everyone. This is something that you have to know where you start and where you're headed. And that's where I can help you. I can help you understand where you are. I can help you understand where you're on the journey. I can help you understand where you want to head if you want to head in that direction. So let's get to it. Let's get to some of the basics that we are talking about. And let's get started. Let me just give you an introduction of the 6 basics. We've kind of gone through this, but I will go through it again. The first thing you want to do, no matter what phase of life you are in, you want to increase. You want to increase cash flow. What does that mean? So again, I'm not gonna, as I said before, I'm not gonna give you answers. I'm gonna ask questions to you, right? Can you see what's going on my screen here? Okay. Give me 1 second. I don't think this screen is visible to everyone. All right. Oh. Do you see my? Okay. My notes aren't visible. There we go. That should work. Ta-da! All right. Let me minimize that a little bit. There we go. So the first thing you want to look at is increasing cash flow. So instead of me giving you what I mean by increased cash flow, I'm going to ask you some key questions here. When I say increasing cash flow, what do I mean by increasing cash flow? If you work a job or you have a certain income, my question to you here is, how can you increase or raise your income How can you raise your income? Can you get a promotion? Can you look at a job that is more challenging and you can do that in the same amount of time? So maybe change your job. Maybe you want to stay put because the job market is a little scary right now for some people. So what would you do to increase cash flow or increase your income? That's something to think about. Now, one condition I would put there is you do not want to trade time. This is a clock. For dollars, right? Because if you wanted to trade time for dollars, you could do many things. You could drive an Uber. You could work at a restaurant. You could, and I'm not saying any of these are good or bad or anything's wrong with them. What I'm saying is, if you are trading time for dollars, you have to be careful because you will run out of time sooner or later, right? There's only 24 hours in the day for everybody. And unless you cannot learn how to leverage time, increasing cash flow becomes a little bit tricky. So tell me in the chat. Now, tell me in the chat, how would you think of increasing your cash flow? If you're a business owner, you might be able to add a stream of income, maybe offer some other products. Maybe you'll have to spend a little money on marketing said products. I don't know. Please give me some ideas in the chat so we can talk about increasing cash flow. That's one of the first pillars. You want to start getting more money to come in. The second thing you want to do is you want to manage your debt. This is very simple. So the question to ask here is, can you in any way consolidate your debt? Can you put multiple loans together, get one loan, pay everything off, and then just pay one loan? That's consolidation. That's one way to do it. Um, can you entirely eliminate debt by restructuring the way you save money and the way you spend money? This is definitely a possibility for people who have lower amounts of debt. But if you have a higher amount of debt, you can definitely look at how to consolidate your debt. Now, I'm not going to provide that answer to you because I don't know what kind of debt someone can be in. I would suggest, again, as for some people, it might be something that becomes a little painful to talk about, but I would say list all your debt on one spreadsheet, on one piece of paper. List the amount, list the percentage of debt. This is a very Dave Ramsey method. If you are following anyone in the finance world, that's definitely a good place to start. Now, some of you guys might say, Dave Ramsey, what? No, 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 no. I am not promoting one or the other. All I'm saying is it's a good method to start taking care of any debt you might have. Oh, great. Someone says investment. You can increase cash flow by investments. Okay. That's very cool. What would you invest in? We'll come back to investments because there's another place that I want to take you with investments, because I want you to understand anytime you invest something, there is a level of risk involved, right? Some investments have higher risk, some have lower risk, some have no risk. So this is something that you have to research and be very careful of, but investment is a very good idea. That's a very good idea. But before you invest, there has to be some things that you have to take care of, right? The third pillar that I want you to understand that many people have or have spoken about, but not many people actually reserve and keep it. You want to look at emergency fund. Someone said start a new business. That's awesome. If you have a job and you can start a new business, again, be careful. That equation has to change quickly, right? But I think that's a good idea. I'm going to list your ideas on a separate, in fact, you know what? I'm going to start listing them here. So invest was the first one. Second was new business. We'll come back to that. Perfect. All good ideas, guys. Keep them coming in the chat. Thank you very much. Perfect. Now, the emergency fund, be very careful in the way I word this. I want you to understand this. 3 to 6 months of income. Income, not cost of living, right? Not expenses, income. When I say income, I want you to understand, if you are living under your means, that means you're saving some money after that income comes into your bank account. That's when I mean income. But if you're not able to save anything, then I'm looking at expenses and plus some more, right? So be very careful in asking yourself this question. Do I have 3 to 6 months of income set aside? In case something happens, something hits the fan, you need quick cash, or you need to make sure that you have the money to hold you. I would say 6 months is preferable, but 3 months is a good place to start. So there was a time where I didn't have this. So what I did was I started with a very simple $100 bill. That's it. Take an envelope, put $100 aside. Do not touch. You leave that in there, no matter what. Right? You could start anywhere. The journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with a single step. You want to keep that in mind, right? Perfect. So starting the business. Perfect. Yeah, just keep letting me keep throwing things at me. Perfect. So this is the third thing. Now let's look at the fourth. I'm gonna actually go to a new page. Let's see if I can. Oh, there we go. Technology. All right. Perfect. This is something that I have noticed that every person that I know at some point overlooks. It's proper protection. Let me introduce you to the idea of proper protection, and let me do it properly. I know my puns are amazing, aren't they? Proper Oh, I am so bad at writing right now, guys. Sorry. I want to make sure this is legible for all of you. Proper protection. All right. What do I mean by proper protection? Ask yourself these two very important questions. Now, I am going to say trigger warning because this might trigger some people. So please brace yourself. Question one, I want you to ask yourself, what if I die too soon? That's the first question. You're paying a mortgage or you're paying rent, you're paying something that, where your friends, where your loved ones and your family is living, right? What happens? The mortgage stops. That means the bank takes over your property at some point. Now, say you have a car, your car payments stop. What happens to the car? It gets repossessed. Say you have kids, you need education funding. You don't protect yourself, that turns into a loan bigger than they would like, right? So there's a lot of downside, guys, to not having the right kind of protection. The first question is, what if I die too soon? Do you know what your financial responsibilities are? This is when I had spoken about the wealth curve, and we had spoken about financial responsibility. That's the first question you need to ask yourself. The second question I'm going to ask you to take a look at, again, an uncomfortable one, but please bear with me because a lot of people don't ask themselves this question. What if I live too long? 2015, Time Magazine, Google it. Anyone born after 1995 they're saying, predicting their average lifespan will be somewhere between, I think it's 1995. Yeah. I think their average lifespan will be somewhere between 121. I forget. I think its average lifespan is around 99 to 121 years old. Right? So if you say, for example, for argument's sake, 100, right? Say you retire at 65. You have 35 more years where you are not working. That's if you retire at 65. There's 35 years of you not working and no income. And every day is like a weekend because you're going out and you're spending money. Because when you're working, you don't spend as much money, right? So let me ask you, if that's happening, if you're retiring at 65 and you live to 100, what are you going to do for that 35 years? So the question is, what if you live too long? That is why we need this particular protection in place. Now people will say, oh my God, he's selling me something. No, I'm not selling you anything. I am making you aware of the fact that this is a situation that people need to think about and prepare for. No one who has any sort of financial knowledge will tell you, hey, don't protect yourself. No one will do that because they know as long as you are alive and you are protected, things will be taken care of, right? You want to understand that. If you don't understand this and if you don't agree with me, that's okay. But please ask yourself these two questions and prepare for it. How you prepare for it, entirely up to you. Let's get to the fifth pillar of the financial fundamentals. This is going to be an interesting one. Build wealth. Now, story time. I think I've repeated this story way too many times. I need to get a new story for this one. But what's the difference between being wealthy and rich? Can someone tell me in the chat, what is the difference between being wealthy and being rich? These are simple answers. Okay, let's come to it quickly because I want to make sure that I give you all of them before I have to log off, right? When you are wealthy, your money makes money even when you are asleep. That's a fancy way of saying not working. That's wealthy. Rich is when you work a specialized field and make lots of money, right? Say you are a very specific, very niche kind of surgeon. You get paid a certain amount of money for doing that kind of work. Say you are a elite athlete, you get paid to be on that team. But guess what? God forbid you have an injury, you stop working. What happens? Eventually that money goes away, right? So wealth is when your money makes money when you're not working. Rich is you still have to work for that money, but it's a lot of money. So you feel like you're wealthy, right? So always make sure you're never stuck in that sort of zone where you're kind of you're kind of thinking, hey, you know what? I'm making a lot of money. That means I'm wealthy. No, no, we're still one step behind wealth. I think someone had said invest. That's one way to begin building wealth, right? That can only happen after protection is taken care of and your emergency funds are taken care of. Because investing is something, again, that has a certain level of risk involved with it. We'll come back to that in a second because I want to introduce another concept to you based on investing. And the last thing I want you to understand that a lot of people were questioning and talking about, and was in the news because of a certain president who kept talking about it, or rather was very interested in discussing it, is preserving your wealth. This is when in your financial journey you start off as a toddler, you walk, you jog, and this is you boarding that plane. This is you boarding that airplane. Preserve wealth. You want to avoid probate. Probate is something that in some counties or some states they call that the administrator of estate, right? So you want to avoid probate. That's usually you inherit something or you pass something on to the next generation, and you want to make sure it's structured in sort of such a way that you are not you're basically being smart about taxes, right? There was in the news about 3-4 years ago, there was the whole concept of death taxes, right? Basically, if a particular property or a house is passed on to your kids and they decide to sell it, um, guess what? There's a tax when the capital gains happen, right? There are ways to structure your finances where you preserve most of that wealth. Now, some people might say, "Oh, isn't that somewhere not as per the law?" No, no, it's very much legal. It's very much by the tax code. You just have to understand that you have to think about your money and your wealth a little differently. This is where I would say your investing strategy has to be looked at. You want to make sure that beyond all your investing, I would say take 30% and put it in a vehicle where you have no risk, it's tax free, has compound growth, and has a legacy transfer component. Compound growth, I would say around 7 to 8%. These are conservative numbers. This can go higher as well. But all I'm saying is you want to understand this is the way to preserve your wealth. Now, someone said, oh, this is investing. Let's talk about starting a business. I think that is one of the best ideas. What can you do? What can you start a business in? All I know is I have to do it part time because that's where I was. I had a full time job. I had to make sure I started a business and I had to do it part time. And my income grew without trading time. You know what? I'm just going to write the word out. I'm bad at drawing clocks. Without trading time for dollars. That is not a possibility. I have to grow my income without trading time for dollars. I want to introduce you to a concept called the cash flow quadrant by Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. Now, people who admire Ramsey might not admire Kiyosaki very much, or vice versa. I don't want to get into that debate only because I feel both of them have valid points. Both of them grow money differently, have different strategies to grow. And again, depending on where you are in your journey, you can actually use concepts from both coaches. However, I would look at where you are and start from there. The cash flow quadrant is very simple. This is time for dollars. This is owning a job. Now, on this side of the quadrant, right, is where 90% of people are on this side of this quadrant. 90% of people, right? This is when you have a job, you spend some time there, they give you some money, that's called a salary, right? Over here, owning a job is, say, for example, you're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're a lawyer, you're a chiropractor, you are a physical therapist with your own practice. If you don't show up and open that door, guess what? The money stops coming in the day you stop working. So you technically don't own a business, you own a job. There might be some more perks that come with it, but you technically own a job. Again, nothing wrong with any of these guys. I'm just trying to walk you through the concept of income growth without trading time for dollars. Sorry. Right? Now, this is where things get interesting, because on this side of this line is what you're doing is you are leveraging OT, other OPT. It's called other people's time, right? That is when you invest in a system, which is basically, for example, McDonald's or Uber. Uber's a system. It's other people's time and other people's resources that is making Uber money. Amazon, right? It's a system that was built and it's leveraging other people's time and money. So this is what you want to understand. This is where you want to start looking because you're leveraging other people's time. It's like getting a franchise, right? McDonald's or Dunkin' Donut franchise is charging you for the system and the employees are doing the work. So in case you don't go and open those doors, guess what? Money's still being made, right? So the system is what's being followed and the system becomes autonomous at some point. That's how you want to set it up, autonomous. And that's when money comes in without trading time for dollars. Even here, this is semi-passive because you still need to be involved. The last quadrant is where I really like things to happen. Money makes more money. This is called an investor mindset. Imagine your $100 bills growing some arms and legs, going out and bringing their buddies back with them, right? Investor when when an investor becomes an investor, there's a component of risk, and that risk everyone understands. That risk can be this whole money just vanishing one day. Correct? Now, you want to make sure when you are getting into investments, be very careful because there's a lot of information out there. Most of it's good, a lot of it also is noise. So, you first, if you don't know where you are on your financial journey, I would say this is the last place you want to be. However, if you know where you are on your financial journey, this is a good place. Now, this is where I like to understand and work with my clients and people because this is what I do. I am leveraging a system, a tried and tested system, and I'm leveraging other people's time. And from the money that I make from that, I'm investing so that my money grows faster. That is what I'm doing. And I think this brings us to the six. There we go. These are all six of the pillars of money fundamentals. If you have any questions, anything that you want to ask me, I would really like to help anyone who is on their financial journey, trying to grow their money, trying to build their money, and definitely trying to make sure that they get out of the rut and they can grow their legacy and build generational wealth. My mission is to create as much wealth for families as possible. I try to do it without. I well, I help my clients with risk-free investments. As I said, go ahead. If you have the money and you want to invest, I think you should invest. I think it's a great idea. I just think take 30% of that money, 30% of your dollars, and put it in something safe, compounding, and at the same time, you want to make sure when it's safe and it compounds, it's it's accessible, so it's liquid for you, has a tax-free benefit to it, or has a tax-free availability for you, helps you in retirement. So it answers questions like, what if I live too long? What if I die too soon? There's protection built into it. And obviously, you want to make sure the legacy aspect. The legacy aspect is there. Anyhow, so I think that I've kept you guys long enough, but I also want to, make sure that I provide enough value to you every time I come online. If you have any questions, anywhere you want to reach out to me, I am available. And I think somewhere on the screen is my email address and my Instagram and my social media channels. You can definitely get in touch with me. If you have any questions, anything that confused you or anything that I didn't answer, please feel free to ask me. Please feel free to reach out. My name is Akshar, and I am here to make sure that wealth is created no matter what the time we're living in, no matter what the market's doing. It is a possibility. It's a reality. And don't buy into the FUD, as they say, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. News is very good at doing that. So thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful night, and I hope I was able to provide value to your time and your attention that you gave me. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Enjoy yourself, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.